If you've seen any of the news lately on the EPA suing yet another tuning manufacturer, you know this situation isn't just going to go away on its own. We can do something to be heard, and it literally just takes a couple of minutes of your time. So today I'm going to answer some questions about what the RPM Act is and what we can do to help. But first, let's talk about SEMA real quick. So SEMA is the Automotive Aftermarket Trade Association. I've been involved with SEMA for almost 25 years, and they have created the SEMA Action Network to help protect the laws that protect racers and cars and hot rodders and street rodders and all those fun things. So let's jump right into the questions, and I'll try to answer these as best I can. So what is the RPM Act? The RPM Act is the Recognizing the Protection of Motorsports Act, and it gives this ability to remove all the emissions control stuff off a new car and convert it to a race car. So a lot of folks have done that. And when I say new car, I'm talking stuff that's 2099 into the early 90s. Anything that has emissions control on it can be converted over to a race car. We do it all the time. However, there is a clause in the bill that the EPA says you cannot disable any of the emission controls, and that's what we're fighting here. So street vehicles, cars, trucks, motorcycles, it doesn't really matter if it's got a emissions control on it. They cannot be converted over to race cars according to the EPA. And they've started getting strict on enforcing this, and that's what you're starting to see now is all of those enforcements coming to tuning companies, especially. The diesel guys have been fighting this one for quite a long time. So the EPA is looking to go after the high performance market, superchargers, tuners, exhaust kits, you name it. Those are all top priority, and they've chosen to attack it. And that's one of the reasons why we need to get after this and start supporting the RPM Act. Next question. Didn't we sign this last year? If you filled out that form that has been shared all over the internet, then the answer is yes, you did fill it out last year. Each year when the new Congress starts a new session, all of that proposed legislation from the year before either gets dumped or needs to be resubmitted to the lawmaker because you've got new congressmen, new senators coming in, and they need to hear our voice. So until we pass the RPM Act, every single year we're going to go through the same thing. Next question, how much does it cost for us to support the RPM Act? And financially, nothing. All it takes is a minute or two of your time to fill out the form and hit submit. Who pays for all this is the manufacturers that make up the membership of SEMA. So all those big race car manufacturers of product and truck accessories and wheels and tires and car audio, you name it. If they're a SEMA member, their membership dues and their member or their booth fees that they pay to attend the SEMA show every year, that is what pays the SEMA employees, the SEMA Action Network, and all of those things. That is what pays for all this. So it's already been paid for. All as we have to do is react to it and get busy and stay after this thing until we get this passed and it benefits the whole industry, not just the race car side of it. Next question. I don't own a race car. Does this apply to me? And absolutely it applies to you. Yes, it does. There are plenty of manufacturers out there that make products strictly for race type cars that are really high horsepower, really high end stuff, endurance type stuff for long, 24-hour type racing, whatever it is. They make that type of product, but they also make product for everyday street cars and hot rods and muscle cars and all of those resto mods. They make both. So if they lose the ability to make the parts on the racing side, then they lose a share of their income. They lose some of their ability to research and develop new product. They lose the ability to take all of those things that they learned on the racing side and bring it over to the street car side to make better product and stuff that's more efficient and stronger and better for it. So absolutely, even if you don't own a race car, this absolutely directly applies to you. Next question, can we win this year and get it signed into law? And that is an absolute yes. This year, even more than other years in the past, has gotten more attention from the RPM Act than I have ever seen. And I think it's primarily because one of those major tuning companies got in some trouble, and that news went fairly viral through the racing community and the automotive, muscle car and all the hot rodding community. So that attention, the more we bring the light to this issue, the better off we're going to be, and the more people get involved with it, and the more we let the EPA know that this is unacceptable legislation, the better off our chance are is getting the racing community protected. So absolutely we can win this thing. And the last question is, what else can I do to help? Join the SEMA Action Network. Fill out that link for the RPM Act and send it to your legislators. You will probably get a follow-up email from them. Now, it's a form letter, but they'll usually give you another way to contact them, an email address directly to them, and I would encourage you to use that. Take a couple of minutes out of your day and tell them why this doesn't work for you, why this is wrong for the automotive aftermarket industry, why this is bad for car manufacturers, why it's bad for your hobby. They need to hear our voice, and joining the SEMA Action Network is a great way to do that. Anyone can join that. You don't have to be a SEMA member. You don't have to work in the automotive aftermarket industry. You can be just a normal hot rodder, muscle carter, pro mod guy, whatever it is that you're racing or driving. You absolutely can get involved with that. And that SEMA Action Network, and getting involved with that, gives SEMA a larger voice on the Hill in Congress and Senate if they say that, look, we've got X number of hundred thousands of people that are signed up to the Action Network that are involved with the industry, or we've got millions. Would love to get to that number, but we need to get there, and we need to continue to fight every time the SEMA Action Network drops off some information about what's going on in the aftermarket, in your state, federally. Get involved. Fill out the forms that they send you. It usually doesn't take but a couple of seconds. Sometimes they're a little more complicated depending on the state and how that's delivered. But SEMA is behind this. SEMA is the voice of the automotive aftermarket in the racing community, and that's what we need to do. Join the fight, get involved, and let's protect our industry. We have all got to get into this fight. And it is not just a RPM Act thing and we're done. We've got to stay involved with this. We've got to fight for our right to go out and have fun with these cars and trucks that some of them are 20, 30, 40 years old. But even those ones that were early in the EPA era where they started adding emissions control stuff to it, if the RPM Act isn't enacted, all of those changes will be illegal, even though you may be doing something to that engine or that car that helps it be far more efficient. Maybe you're putting in a more modern engine into it, but if you disable or remove any of those emissions controls, it is illegal. And it's illegal right now on the racing side of it, but I guarantee you that if this does not pass and the EPA gets more enforcement on that side of it, they will continue to go after more and more things until next thing you know, it'll knock on your doorstep, and the next thing you know, you're not going to be able to modify that Chevelle or that 65 Mustang or that Dodge Dart. No matter what it is, they will come after it until we say enough is enough. So get involved with the SEMA Action Network. Fill out the link on the RPM Act. I'll leave a ton of links down below. Please read it. Please share the heck out of it on social media. Let's get behind this thing and have our voices heard so we can protect this fun hobby that we're all into. So if you have any questions on this, please leave them down below. I would love to answer them, and definitely share the heck out of this video, share the heck out of the links down there, and let's fight for this, and let's win it this time. Go get it. We can do this.